Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhye cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, we've got four verses today, and they have little short purports. So we'll read the verse and the purports quickly, and then go ahead with it. So it's 10th canto, 48 chapter 11 through 14. That's what we have on the docket today. So the 11 says, Lord Vishnu, the supreme Lord of all lords, is ordinarily difficult to approach. One who has properly worshipped him and then chooses the benediction of mundane sense gratification is certainly of poor intelligence, for he is satisfied with an insignificant result. And then the purport says, it is clear from the commentaries of the Acharyas that the story of Trivakra, the one someone who's bent in three places, Kubja is called that, is to be understood on two levels. On the one hand, she is understood to be a liberated soul, directly associating with the Lord and participating in his pastimes. On the other hand, her conduct is clearly meant to teach a lesson about what not to do in relation with Lord Krishna. Since all of the Lord's pastimes are not only blissful but also didactic, there is no real contradiction in this pastime, since Trivikra's purity and her bad example take place on two distinct levels. Arjuna is also considered a pure devotee, yet by initially disobeying Krishna's instruction to fight, he also showed an example of what not to do. However, such bad examples always have happy endings in the blissful association of the absolute truth, Sri Krishna. So then 12 is then Lord Krishna, wanting to have some things done, went to Akrura's house with Balaram and Uddhava. The Lord also desired to please Akrura. And the purport says the previous incident of Lord Krishna's visit to Trivikra's house and now his visit to Akrura's give a fascinating glimpse into the daily activities of Sri Krishna in Mathura city. And then 13 and 14 are together. The translation will just be one. He says, Akrura stood up in great joy when he saw them, Krishna and Balaram, his own relatives, and the greatest of exalted personalities coming from a distance. After embracing them and greeting them, Akrura bowed down to Krishna and Balaram and was greeted by them in return. Then, when his guests had taken their seats, he worshipped them in accordance with scriptural rules. And the short purport says, Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Lord Sri Krishna and the others approached Akrura in a friendly attitude. At first, Akrura reciprocated that friendly mood, and then, in the course of showing them hospitality, he adopted his natural devotional attitude toward the Lord and thus offered his obeisances to Sri Krishna and Sri Balaram. Okay. So, I think for today's topic, I think we're going to go back to the first one, and this notion that Kubja is for one thing is transcendental and is having pastimes with the Lord, has encountered the Lord, but her attitude is one that we shouldn't imitate. That in one sense she's missing out. She hasn't isn't exhibiting the highest type of connection with the Lord, and that there's something better than what she's dealing with. So it says here, she's showing an example of worshiping the Lord for some personal or material benefit. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. Uh, Krishna has his he has so many different incarnations, so many different pastimes, so many different places, and the areas where he appears. But he does have the place in Vrindavan, which is his kind of his fullest expression of himself. Sometimes we talk about self-actualization. Well, his highest level of self is in Vrindavan, and in there there's this notion of overwhelming, ever increasing, ever present divine love that's an exchange between Krishna and his devotees. So Krishna finds his fullest self-actualization, his full expression of himself by experiencing the love that his devotees have for him, and in the extreme love that he has for them. And for him, everything else is not as satisfying. It's not as fully captivating. And he's been doing this for eternity, and there's no sign that it's ever going to end. This is the ultimate. And so we're invited to that, because that's why Krishna produces other beings, is so that love can happen. He's otherwise fully satisfied. He doesn't require anything. And so there's this love that takes him out of himself and takes the devotees out of themselves. Right? Prabhupada talks about this. There's a reciprocal relationship between Krishna and his devotees. His only desire is to please his devotees, because that love that he feels from them, he takes as priceless. And he simply wants to give himself in return. It says that Krishna prema is Krishna Karshni. It attracts Krishna, because it's priceless. And then Krishna's love for the devotees take as priceless. It certainly is. And they only want to please Krishna. And so this path is open to us. This is particularly available in the line of Lord Chaitanya, who was trying to exhibit that. So when Krishna appears in the previous yuga, he wanted to reveal that. And that says afterwards, Krishna noticed that people didn't understand it. People weren't so attracted to it. So he decided to come again. He had some selfish purposes. He also wanted to experience that love from the other side. He said he wanted to be able to see himself through the eyes of a devotee, Srimati Radharani. He wanted to experience the love that she has for him, how she feels when she loves him. And also he wanted to experience how she feels when she receives Krishna's love, things he couldn't do. And in that way, he was going to demonstrate for us here in this age of Kali how we could get on that path. Now, one thing that's interesting to note, that when generally when people want something, some selfish or material benefit from the worship of the Lord, we think that the result of that is not so great. Perhaps we may think in that way, but it's interesting. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, he talks about this. There's a Bhagavad Gita 7:16 where Krishna talks about the four people that approach him. Right? And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says the enjoyer, somebody who wants something material to enjoy; the sufferer, somebody who's suffering and wants the suffering removed; and the third one he calls the one who's seeking knowledge. Prabhupada calls it the inquisitive one. And then there's the one who has knowledge of Krishna and wants a connection. And he says that that the first three are karma mishra bhaktas. They have bhakti mixed with the material desires. And he says the fourth one is jnana mishra bhakti. So they have some jnana, and then that's mixed with bhakti. So it's not the unalloyed bhakti as Prabhupada mentions it. And he mentions what they receive from that, and it's quite amazing, really. He says for the first three who have material desires, worship, it's a transactional arrangement in some sense, right? Like, I'm worshiping Krishna because he has the ability to provide me with something that I otherwise can't get on my own. I'm in trouble and Krishna can rescue me. I have desires that I can't fulfill. I want, deeper knowledge that I'm not able to find. And so it's kind of transactional in that way. It's not a deep love in any sense of the word. But Krishna's love is so powerful that he takes that as something valuable. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, first of all, they receive their desires. Krishna gives them what they were desiring. And then afterwards, he says that the ones who are karma mishra bhaktas, they go to they have salokya mukti. They go to the same planet where Krishna is residing. They go to the spiritual world. He says because Krishna is someone so great. If you can get so many material things by worshiping devas or doing so many pious activities, but because they went to Krishna, they get an extraordinary result. He says they go to the spiritual world. They don't have close association with Krishna. So he says they have mostly, he calls it sukha and aishvarya. Right? They are able to enjoy the happiness and he said powers or opulence of the material world, of the spiritual world. Sorry, excuse me, of the spiritual world. So there's not a close connection with Krishna because they didn't want one. They wanted something. They wanted things. And so it's not a material enjoyment when they're there. Obviously, they understand this is Krishna's place or Lord Vishnu's place. And they have certain great respect for him and gratitude towards him, but they don't have a deep connection. They're not really doing much service. I think something like that you see in the description in the Bhagavatam, where you see in Vaikuntha, the husbands and wives are floating around on their airplanes and enjoying the atmosphere. So they kind of perform a service of making being kind of decorative in the spiritual world. It's kind of a cool sight. But they don't perform any kind of really direct service, and so the connection is not so deep. But it's there. It's they have upgraded their existence, right, from temporary, ignorant, right, and miserable to eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur he makes clear. He says, unlike if people go to the heavenly planet Swarga, they don't come back down. So these people are there. And he said then the other person, the Jnani, he says they have Jnana Mishra Bhakti, so they can get up to the level of bhava. They have some premature love for God, but it's in a shanta mood. So he says like the Kumaras, like Sanatan Kumara. And so they don't have also a close connection, but they're more focused on the Lord. It's closer. So to me, when I hear things like that, it makes me understand the depth of the Lord's love. Because this is the thing. Krishna's whole purpose is to love to his fullest capacity, and it's continuing to increase. And for that he needs devotees, and the devotees, their reward for participating is their love. They get to experience Krishna's love, and they get to love with their full capacity, which is ever increasing. And that's what we see as the goal, which is most wonderful. I mean, Krishna has decided this for himself. This is the most wonderful thing. And so I think Krishna is, he's eternal. Krishna has all powers, and Krishna has all wisdom and understanding. So Krishna has an eternity to figure out what's the best thing. He has all powers to make sure to be able to attain anything he can think of, and he can think of anything. So if Krishna has come to decide that come to decide this is the best possible thing, we can take that with some seriousness, I think, and we can trust Krishna that it probably really is. That we definitely can't come up with anything better. That we can be certain of. Mm-hmm. So you see even here how sweet Krishna is with these devotees, because generally if somebody is flattering you or doing service for you or somehow trying to get your attention, and because they want something from you, it's not so fulfilling. You think they're just there's the old blues song, right, that says what is it, that nobody knows you when you're down and out, when you have lots of money you have lots of friends, right? coming around your door. When the money's gone, they don't come around anymore. And people who are, famous and rich and influential, they sometimes feel very isolated because they think most of the people that are coming around them are doing it for their own reasons and not for any real genuine affection. And so, but Krishna, he's such a loving person that even when just that they come to him at all, even if it's for something, even if they don't care for him so much, but it's coming for something, he takes that somewhat seriously. And he brings them to the spiritual world. They don't want a close connection, so he facilitates that. And so for us, we talk a lot about um, achieving love of God. This is, the goals of our sadhana bhakti is ultimately to attain Krishna prema. In order to do that in any meaningful way, I, I would suggest that it's important to understand Krishna's love, because Krishna's love is never transactional. And we say, when we say Krishna's, mercy is causeless, that's what that means. You could say another word for that is, if you say, gratuitous. It just is who he is. So he has only one setting. And we see that in so many ways. Right? Even the asuras who dislike him, would like to kill him, wish he were gone, and want nothing to do with him. What does he do? Right? In the Gita, he says, he seems to indicate that, that he doesn't love them so much. He says that he puts them in lower and lower forms of life, and they mam apropria. They never attain me. But Prabhupada mentions in the first canto, he quotes that verse, and he says, what happens actually, he says, is that the Lord's devotees, his liberated devotees, appear in various countries, and they gradually rectify such persons to God consciousness. So Krishna, he respects our free will, because love has to be free. If love that's compelled is never love. And so if the asuras decide, I don't want to have anything to do with you, Krishna lets them be, except, remember, Krishna is the gambling of cheats, or of cheating things. He's gambling. So he is trickier than anybody. And so he sends his devotees, or they know, or they go themselves, because they understand Krishna's desire. And he saves them. So he can't do anything himself, right? Because they don't want him to exist. They don't want him to be with, they don't want to interact with him. So he says, okay, I'm hands off. But the devotees come and help them. And he can claim he has plausible deniability, right? These guys, I don't know, they're just crazy. They go every place. What can I do? It's not my fault that they came. Don't blame me. So even though they blaspheme him, they even want to kill him, Krishna wants their benefit. When he deals them directly and kills them, right, he frees them from all their sins. So Krishna's love is still on them. Another sign of Krishna's love, he's in the heart of everyone, no matter what. And what we've done, this life or innumerable past lives, only Krishna knows. Right? So many things we've done. Krishna sees us not just from the outside, but from the inside. The super soul sees everything. She understands our feelings, understands our thoughts, everything. It's the inside view. Better clear than us. We try to suppress stuff. We try not to pay attention to some other stuff. He knows everything, all of our deepest, darkest secrets through all of our lives. And he's right there in the heart. He doesn't have to be. The super soul does some practical functions, but Krishna could create some other entity that does that fulfills those things. He's there because we're his. He says, you're my parts and parcels, my anshas. You're mine. I'm the well-wisher of everybody. And so we may not want Krishna, so he's very small. He hides in the heart where we can't see him. Again, he's kind to us. If we don't want to deal with him, that's okay, but he's there. So this is that's Krishna. His love never stops. It can't be broken. Otherwise, it's not real. It's not profound if it can be broken. So for Krishna, his concern and care and love for us is ongoing always, no matter what. And not transactional, not if you do this, if you do that. Our business is only to see, are we interested in that? Are we interested in that or not? That's the real question that we have. Is we're able, Krishna gives us that superpower. There's the Avaranatmika Shakti that covers us over. All right. And he's can be invisible to us if we desire. So we're able to be unaware of that love and block it, and we've done that. And because of that lack of love, we have become persons who need to compensate. Almost everything we do in this world is compensation for the lack of the love that we're looking for love in places. We already have it in Krishna, but we're compensating it in ways that usually aren't helpful to us, sometimes really harmful. But it's there. So to me, if we're going to try to enter into the path of love in some way, I think first of all we have to contemplate the nature of Krishna's love for us, because otherwise we have this unfortunate tendency to either think that we are unworthy, and we are in the sense that love is something so priceless that you cannot earn or deserve it, and so therefore, and Krishna feels the same with the love his devotees bring to him. He feels unworthy because the love is so great; it's greater than anything, and so he feels indebted. So in that sense, it's okay. But sometimes we feel that because it's transactional, I'm unworthy, and therefore I have to prove myself. Otherwise, we may be kind of have a little extra armor against Krishna's love by thinking that I don't want it to be causeless. I want to deserve it, right? I'm better than that. I'm better than having something given to me free. That's the other part of ego. Right? We may not be able to just open ourselves to it. Right? The notion that but the Krishna's love is present. It's always there, and we can never deserve it. It's not possible to deserve it. It's priceless. And so if we can just open ourselves to that possibility, that no matter whatever we've done in this life, in past lives, in future lives, whatever it is, Krishna is faithful. And Krishna's love for us is undying. The only question is, do we want it? It's not so that now we have to earn it and do all this. No, we have it, but we're blocking it out. It's our problem. The relationship is on in Krishna's side. He's never forgotten us. He stayed with us birth after birth. He comes again and again and again. He's got plenty of devotees up there, really, in the spiritual world, but he keeps coming. I mean, he's thinking more of our benefit than his. Of course, we add a little something when we go there. But it's working fine for him. He doesn't really have a problem, but he's thinking of us. We would be so much happier. He sees us struggling in so many ways and says, hey guys, come on. And so he keeps coming. He keeps coming. He sends his devotees. He keeps revealing the scriptures. He's reaching out to us all the time. And that's a sign of love. So we have this unfortunate, situation here in the world we live in, that when people are important and powerful, only a few people can get into that level, and you have to really prove yourself to be different and distinctive. Right? You have to really be somebody. But Krishna's not like that. His whole situation is love. He is not insecure and needs people to to flatter him. He doesn't want to abuse people. That's not his situation. His ego is just fine. He's really secure. He's no problem with that. He does. So in that way he is not human like. His pastimes are human like, it says, but he is not human like in that way at all. His whole being is different. And so I think for if we want to have our hearts, and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur talks about this, that the whole thing that holds us up on the path of sadhana is the hardness of our hearts. And so some way, if we can become aware that when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is there, is present with us, and his love is there. And we can everything in one sense, everything around us is something that's a form of Krishna's love. He's provided us with this world if we want to be separate from him. In the 15th chapter, right, he says that he's in the heart. Then he says that he's the sun and the moon. He says he keeps the earth in its orbit, or keeps the earth from crumbling to dust. He's providing this environment for us that we wanted. He's given us everything. Everything is Krishna. And I think another thing, we could got a couple more minutes, is this kind of notion of, because it says that the jnani, the jnana mishra bhakta, that person gets, he or she gets a kind of a shantaras, where there's just kind of, you're kind of in awe, and there's an awe and veneration. There's love, but there's the Lord is so great and I'm so small, and you just kind of, it's this beautiful situation, but it's not a real strong interaction. And that's partially, I think, because of his jnana. It says, actually, Krishna says in the 11th canto that somebody who is really attached to this world is qualified for karma. And somebody who is really, really averse to this world is qualified for jnana. Because they just want, oh, it's terrible, I need to get out of it. And somebody who's qualified for bhakti is neither too attached nor too averse. And so when Prabhupada talks, again and again and again and again about the miseries of this material world, he's trying to cure us of our too much attachment for it. And we have this optimism. There's some kind of optimism that runs through us, right? That lifetime after lifetime we fail, but lifetime after lifetime we'll get it right this time. We'll get it right this time. There's some kind of inborn optimism, and we don't get tired of it. So this is not our final destination. It's not where we can find our full fulfillment. But it's also real. It's Krishna's energy. One of the real criticisms Prabhupada has of Shankaracharya is that Shankaracharya teaches that the world is illusion. It doesn't really exist. And so the only proper way to relate to it is to have wisdom to know that it's false, and detachment. So you just cannot interact with it at all. And so that qualifies, so jnana, that's what it means. So if you see the world as just something just terrible that has to be escaped, and that's all you can do with it, that's jnana. You're qualified for jnana. But Krishna, bhakti means that you see it as God's energy. And so how can you interact with God's love and your fledgling love that's coming up in this world? Prabhupada talks about dovetailing, right? That's when Prabhupada uses that word, dovetailing our situation here. So what happens with full scale jnana, when you just have no connection with the world at all, you get impersonal liberation, because you're not a person. Right? Everything about you, everything about the world is illusion and worthless. So you detach yourself from that. How can you become a transcendental person, right? If you can't even be a material one. All you do is retreat and go away from it. And so we can engage with this world with the proper understanding that it's Krishna's energy. And that can help us to build our compassion, to build our love. Right? Because instead of just reacting with horror to the difficulties, is where we can react with compassion. We can in one sense, deepen our humanity, because in the highest level, it's a transcendental humanity. So how can we, how can we, not be too attached, right? And think this is the be all and end all, but at the same time, not be too averse and say, okay, this is Krishna's energy. I'm put here. Krishna, when we accept Krishna into our lives, Krishna guides what happens. Because what happens here if you deal with it in a devotional way, it actually builds you. It deepens your connection with Krishna, deepens your connection with love. It does that. So sometimes we want to just escape, and that's not exactly. We escape by integrating and by interacting in the appropriate way. That's what it is. Just one last thing quickly. It mentioned, how Arjuna, was made a mistake by not obeying Krishna in the purport. And I want to give Arjuna a little bit more credit there, and say that he was legitimately freaked out because Krishna threw something his way that was just beyond his comprehension, how something that terrible could happen. And of course, eventually Arjuna trusts Krishna, says, okay, I'll do what you say. I think that's the best thing. And I think that's more that's more the model for us, that Krishna's going to bring things to us that freak us out. And if we think we always have to just be transcendental to everything, that's aversion and jnana, and actually hardens our heart. So we have to, so when something, really freaky happens and it freaks us out, we get to do that. Arjuna got to do that, and he got to work through it. It took him some time to work through it. And it may take us time to work out. So Krishna's going to send things our way that was going to freak us out, and we should say, oh, no, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I'm transcendental. I'm equal in happiness and distress. But equal means that you try to engage with it. And so Arjuna said that he reached out for help. He says, guide me at this. I can't deal with this. And he listened and he listened. And finally, even after listening, he really couldn't wrap his mind around it. And so Krishna says, but just trust me. It wasn't an obedience thing. It's a trust me. You know me. I'm telling you this is the right thing. So just make it a personal trust with me. So that's kind of how we deal with things also. If we freak out, that's normal. Right? And then we try to integrate, and take whatever time it takes. Otherwise, we cut ourselves off from grief. We get this, spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity, which is just, it doesn't get you anywhere. Love has to be authentic, and you can't pretend. And Krishna knows if you're pretending, and you know if you're pretending. Okay, so we're at the time when we need to cease and desist, and so I'm going to do that, and let have some participation from all of you. Wonderful group here.
Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Such a rich class, rich in wisdom, and so many takeaways for me personally. Venetia and Whiskey Das are raising their hand.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Holy cow. That's all. That's the first words that come to my mind. I just want to say, holy cow. Thank you so much. This was ecstatic. Literally, people use that word all the time, but I feel like I can't catch my breath right now. I'm so excited by everything that you just said. And the things that I'm reflecting, and then I have a question, are, I love that it's such a perfect teaching that you're offering, which on one hand is hope giving, right? That Krishna's love is always there. Krishna's love is always there. And we can't deserve it. And by wondering, do we deserve it? Do we not deserve it? It's almost like an excuse. So on one hand, it's very hope giving, but on the other hand, it kind of cuts through all the BS and says, it's like, do you want this? That's all. That's the question that's in front of us. Everything else is a distraction. Everything else is a mental game. It's, do you want this or do you not want this? And if you want it, it's there, and proceed from there. And so it's both. And also what you said about, there will be freakouts, but just the goal is, don't let anything distract you from what's in front of you, but then also including hardening yourself by either beating yourself up or having the freak out become the focus rather than the integration, as you're saying, towards love. So this is just such a beautiful, beautiful, inspiring teaching. And I'm very grateful. And the question I have is, what do you do personally to keep your heart soft? Do you have any practices on a practical level that, if it's not too personal,
let's say not keep it soft, but trying to soften it a little.
Yes. Okay. Yes. From the immense, like, but certainly for myself.
I mean, I guess the one I shared to you is kind of the biggest one, that is really trying to understand that Krishna's love is, and you can feel it. Sometimes we have, we talk about, experiencing some, chant and be happy, or, these kinds of things. But I think when we feel some spiritual happiness, we're feeling Krishna's love there. So we shouldn't use the Hare Krishna mantra that's like kind of a spiritual drug, or something. Hey, give me some happiness today.
Yeah.
But that's actually, Krishna also revealing himself. So I think when I'm chanting or then just the rest of the time, I'm trying to remember how I'm loved, because I mean, love itself is such a healing thing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Like even in like in the realm of therapy, it says that there have been studies that said that the highest correlation, the thing that correlates most highly with successful therapy is not the type of therapy, but the relationship that the person has with the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So if they feel accepted and that sort of thing by them, then it's much easier for them to heal. And so the same thing, if we know that we have, and if we can do this for each other, accept each other, we begin to accept if we don't feel that we're accepted by Krishna, then we also don't feel other people are, and we reflect that inner doubt and criticism of ourselves outward. So if we can feel Krishna's acceptance and love unconditionally, this is such a healing thing. Also, all the different traumas and things we have, it can soften them a little bit. We still have to interact with them and deal with them, but it softens that, and it makes us come alive. Love makes you come alive. Prabhupada always says how devotional service is enlivening, and that's what it is. So I think first of all we have to more understand Krishna's love and how it's present and how it's continuous, and that begins to then it begins to melt our hearts.
Yeah. So understand it and know it's there, and then let it in
and try to experience. Yeah, let it in.
Accept it and reflect it to others.
Yeah.
Perfect. Please forgive my neophyte lack of obeisances when I started. I just was so excited.
We don't need that. We don't need that. And in some ways, in my view, a little too much formality sometimes hurts us.
Okay, well, thank you
because it's mentioned. There's the nectar of instruction that says that somebody is kind of somebody new to Krishna consciousness. You can offer them obeisances in your mind. Somebody who's more advanced, you can offer like real obeisances, and somebody real advanced, you can almost offer your life to them. And so in some ways, yeah, you can say that persons have more to give as they grow more. But I think the main thing there is that obeisances are always good for everybody. You can offer the obeisance to anybody because you see them as part of God. But what's harmful is that if you are immature, you can't receive them in a healthy way. It makes your ego go up. And so who can deal with heavy duty obeisances, So if everybody's offering you obeisances all the time, it's like, oh man, then I'm gonna start, hey,
Well, all obeisances to you. All obeisances to you from my heart. All obeisances to you. Thank you so much.
Hurt you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, you're just fine.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada being Acharya already, accomplished Acharya, he came back to India and he was offering obeisances to his god brothers who got initiated sooner than him because he had to wait for 8 years. That's just to illustrate the point that Giri Govardhan Prabhu made.
Yeah.
Damodar Priya.
Hare Krishna, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. I have a question related to this theme of softening the heart. In terms of like what to do for those of us who have too soft of a heart, like that we feel the pain of others too much, or like things like, so for example, I'm like a super softie, like next door we have dogs that I mentioned it before, like I keep calling animal control because our next door neighbors are neglecting them and they don't take care of them, and nothing's happening about it. And we've tried giving the next door neighbors prasadam. We've tried, chanting when we walk by the dogs from, through the fence, and I just still feel too much about it. Like it really troubles me, just knowing that they're in distress and that they're in pain. So I know this is like a kind of small, silly example, but like, how do we handle that? Like, I would really love your advice.
Yeah, in some ways, we want to, these things can, deepen our compassion. If you say you almost have too much in one sense, right? Because in that case, you're really trying to fix it. And so I think we have to realize where we can really be of help, and you're trying your best, and it may not be successful, but all you can do is do your best with that. And also while taking care of yourself, because sometimes when people have too soft a heart, they think that they can't also take care of themselves. You also have to have compassion for yourself, because otherwise you will not continue to be able to do it. So I think we have to realize our limitations, and do our best, and because that's unfortunately that's part of the growth thing, about having negative things that we can go through actually can help deepen our compassion, and also can help, and people get a chance to try everything, right? That's what happens here. So we can't remove all pain and suffering here. We can wish it, and we can do what we practically can do, but we have to realize we can't always do everything, and then leave that up to Krishna, and make sure to have compassion for yourself. Don't do that like, I can only have to serve others, because otherwise how you can survive also. So we have to have compassion for ourselves.
Gail.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Gail.
Whenever you speak, oh my God, I feel like a kid in a candy store. You are so yummy. My God, you're and you so speak my language, like there's French, there's English, and then there's my language, and you totally deliver the philosophy in a way that's so assimilatable for me, One question I have, which I think I know what you will say, but I want to hear what you have to say anyway. So, I feel a little needy when I, in my mood toward Krishna, because I just, that those pictures of Lord Nrsingadev with looking down so affectionately to Prahlad. Yeah. You see the affection just like dripping from his eyes toward Prahlad, and also Prahlad toward Lord Nrsingadev, and so, my mood is that I just want to feel like Krishna's pet child on his lap, like how Prahlad is on Lord Nrsingadev's lap, that object of affection being showered with Krishna's love like a pet child.
That's what we are. So put that in your head. That's how Krishna sees it already. And so we're just not open enough to that yet.
Yeah, but my obstacle is that, that mood feels very kind of self-centered.
It's all right at this point, right? Because what happens with divine love is that when you appreciate how priceless it is and how wonderful it is, your heart just explodes, basically. And so right now we are needy. We're cut off from love, and we're needing that. So we have to nourish that a little bit first. And so I really think we have to become aware of Krishna's love first. That begins to melt our hearts, and then it's natural for us to want to give back more and more and more. And so it's all right to be selfish right now with that in that way, because that's the way you come to the point of having real love.
So you don't think Krishna minds?
Krishna doesn't mind one bit. Because look what he says. Look what he does to people who just want something material from him. So we're saying, look, I'm trying to recognize your love, and I want to learn how to reciprocate. That's really what we're doing, because it's a natural thing. Krishna says the love that his devotees have for him, it makes him feel indebted, and that causes his heart to overflow and want to just only please them. And the devotees the same way. So now our hearts are hard. We've been living in this artificial condition where we're disconnected from love, and we feel empty. So we have to melt that a little bit. So Krishna's fine. He loves us unconditionally always. He's fine with that. Especially if we have in the back of our head the idea we also want to have that love for him. So he's totally on board with that.
Okay, yeah, and actually, I have my own deep, dark secrets, and I actually have tangible proof that he loves me despite it. But still, I'm still trying to get that deep realization that his love for me is that deep and unconditional, even though I have so much evidence in my life.
We'll keep remembering that evidence, and keep playing that back, keep playing that tape back, because we have all these other tapes in our head, you know,
Well, let me tell
that
you,
are blocking
Prabhu,
us from it. You know, we have all these different repetitive thoughts and things and attitudes that we have that are fighting that. So keep, you know, let's keep going back and remembering, you know, Krishna's unconditional love and that sort of thing, and remember the places where we've seen it, you know,
well,
and reprogram ourselves.
speaking of replaying tapes, believe you me, this class is one of those tapes that I will be replaying, you know, hopefully
so
on a daily basis.
So our philosophy is so beautiful. It's what Krishna does for himself. So really, there can't be anything more beautiful, but it's so beautiful and joyous. And if we make it anything other than that, I think we're cheating ourselves.
Yeah, and final thing, like you already said it, but you know, a justification of my feeling the way I do is that if I do eventually experience that unconditional love, then that will inspire me to give selfless love back to him.
Yeah,
So
it
that
makes you
kind of like,
overflow. Yeah, exactly. You said it there, right there. So repeat that. Put that on a tape and repeat it. You said it perfectly.
Yeah. Thank you for being you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, thank you for welcoming me here in this really nice Sangha.
Thank you. And Bhima Prabhu is burning to glorify Krishna.
Please.
I wish burning had anything to do with what I'm going through right now. It's 9 degrees out, and I'm in it. I just want to ask if Prabhu can hang after for the afterglow, so that we can keep talking to his wonderful self. I'm sure there's lots of other people who would like to chime in.
If you want, I can hang on a little bit longer.
Okay. All right. Hare Krishna.
Okay, it's darshan time. Giri Govardhan Prabhu, thank you. Wonderful class. And thanks for agreeing to stay for the afterglow. Okay, it's time to be seen by the Lord. Krishna only sees our true self.
Hare Krishna, Namah Hare.
Shri Shri Radha Muladhar Shri Guru Chandra Ki Jai. Shri Temple Room Ki Jai. Narayani Ki Jai. Good to see you, Narayani. Ooh, she's so cute. Okay, where is Giri Govardhan Prabhu? Giri Govardhan Prabhu? Bhima Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
How does, well, Bhima Prabhu is rushing towards the camera. How does Bhakti view recreation and things like vacation and, you know, soccer games between devotees? How does Bhakti view that? Is that modified?
Yeah, I mean, I really think we have to be able to take care of ourselves. I think the whole notion. See, what happens, I think, sometimes Prabhupada, when he talks about, he says devotees are such and such a way, such and such a way. That, you know, devotee is a very big term, a very broad term, and so I think many times that you know, he's talking about advanced devotees. And so, like Prabhupada mentions, there's a class that he gave in '66 when he first was here, and he mentioned how devotional service becomes spontaneous, and he uses the example of how a mother serves the child, wants to please the child, so it's out of natural affection. So it's not that we can like, so sometimes when we talk about selflessness, usually it's like there's like a little suffering involved. You know, it's illegal to be selfish, but the selflessness comes when the love begins to develop, when there's natural affection comes there. And so we need to do what we need to do. You know, or we say because we're serving Krishna 24 hours a day. Well, that happens with people at even pretty high stages of sadhana. Because they appreciate Krishna's love so much that they're overflowing, and they feel indebted. They need to do something. There's no happy. They're so full and happy. All they can do is want to give something back, and so it's a natural thing. So when we make it unnatural, say, okay, I can't take a vacation. I can't do this. I can't do that. I simply have to serve all that. It's going to harden your heart. It's actually going to harden your heart. So I really think it's like, if we look at the Hare Krishna movement, most of us, almost all of us, there's exceptions, but most of us, if we look at that third verse of Shikshastakam, which is steadiness in sadhana, is nishta. It's a kind of the midway point of sadhana. Things start to get sweet after that. And if we look at that, and we look at ourselves, not very many of us can say, oh yeah, that's me. That describes me nicely. Right? You were usually like, hopefully you have some of those things, qualities to some degree, but to that full degree, like it has no way. Right. So we're something is making us get stuck there. And I think sometimes we've brought in certain attitudes towards Krishna and towards, spirituality that really aren't so applicable to bhakti. We didn't understand what was being taught so well. And we keep passing that on generation after generation. And so sometimes we actually torture ourselves, so we end up, our heart gets hard because it's such a commitment and and it's not natural, but we're trying to come up to this high standard. We want to become pure, but purity happens as a byproduct of bhakti. It really does. This is the seed of bhakti sprouts, and you've got the leaf that Kleshagni removes our negativities, and Shubhada that brings good qualities in. So if we engage with Krishna's love, it can become more spontaneous, and we're not going to keep beating ourselves up all the time.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful answer. Bhima Prabhu, you ready? Yeah, he's far away.
Haribol, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Giri Govardhan Prabhu. There's the Bhagavatamrita. What's the main character's name? The young
Gopakumar.
Gopakumar, and he chants the Gopal mantra. Yes,
yeah.
Gayatri. Okay, so he is taken, and who is leading him from realm to realm on his way?
Well, it's mostly that mantra.
Oh, the mantra. Okay.
Yeah. Krishna says that he was impatient. Krishna mentions, he says, I was waiting for you for so long, and you weren't coming back to me. You weren't coming to me, so I finally sent you your guru. And so he didn't understand much about the mantra. He didn't get much teaching. He just received the mantra. And so when he would chant it, he would see Gopal, because he was he's a cowherd boy.
Wow.
And so then he kept looking for the highest level of devotion, and kept going from place to place, looking for his heart, to find his heart's desire that he found through his mantra.
So it seems something that one of the tests that we are given is that Krishna, not only we have to have that patience to bear through our, that unplugged but running fan of our past karma, and we have to bear through it patiently, but also apparently, tell me if this is true or not, that Krishna also starts, if you have a desire for something other than, of course, 100% like Gopal Kumar, 100% Krishna only, not the things that Krishna can give you, but Krishna, if he sees that you have any desire for any other thing, that he graciously gives it to you in front of him. Like he'll throw at you every single desire, all the way through the heavenly planets, all the way up into Vaikuntha Loka. He'll throw that at you before he gives himself to you. Is that what he's up to?
No, I don't
Like,
think so. So it's actually sometimes this is the difference it says between him and let's say Shiva or some others, that he will give you what's good for you, and so he may give you something, and if he gives you something you want, that may be something that builds your faith, but he'll also bring to you the misfortunes. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he says, why do devotees sometimes suffer? And so, the karma, that doesn't usually last very long. But he says Krishna brings it to you because it gives you an opportunity to engage deeper with love. What if he puts you in a difficult condition? And so the patience is not so much just waiting until it's over, but do we trust Krishna that, boy, this bitter medicine actually is helpful? And
what I'm saying is
yeah.
What I'm saying is that that's a form of medicine. Just a case in point, bring it back to practical. I know two devotees who recently have had trips to a heavenly planet called Hawaii. And of course, it was a beautiful time, and they even had the association of other devotees, but they were not fully engaged. And yet, during that time, both of them said the same thing, which is, I'm bored. I want to get back to my service. They're in Hawaii. Okay. They even have association, but because they were not fully engaged as they were previously, that ruchi and the nishta was missing. And so they felt this emptiness, even though they were given their desire to go and observe and try to enjoy in a heavenly realm, at least on this planet. And yet they were brought to this understanding that it's not all it's cracked up to be, type of thing. So I know that in the Bhagavatam, Gopal, everywhere he went, even in Vaikuntha, he was not satisfied.
That's right.
He was not satisfied. Even in heaven, he was not satisfied.
No.
So my thoughts were, Krishna places these things there to say, do you want this or do you want me? Do you want this? And it just gets, yeah.
If he thinks so, it's going to be too much of a temptation, then he won't give it to you.
Right.
So he does curate that to some degree. So yeah, he'll let you say, here, try it. And then, but usually he does that in a time when you're gonna understand, yeah, this isn't so great. But he does protect us a little bit that way. He sends things to us that are beneficial, but it may be those things. May send you to Hawaii.
Yeah. One devotee once said jokingly, when is Krishna going to start testing me with wealth and opulence and fame and all that? When is he going to start testing me? I'm ready.
He's not going to do it because he said you want it too bad, pal.
Yeah.
I know you want it too bad.
Yeah, it's so nice. Krishna is so wonderful that he gives us the things that are good for us. Yeah. He's biased in that way. Yeah, that's so nice. Such a nice point.
Yeah, and he accepts that even from his devotees, right? He doesn't want Mother Yashoda to tie him up, but she's doing it for his own good, so he accepts it.
Yeah.
Even he understands accepting things for your own good.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Giri Govardhan Prabhu Ki Jai.
All right. Hare Krishna,
Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Everybody on this call, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hare Bol. Come tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam never ends. And the affection for Krishna is ever increasing. And the depth of devotees' association is also ever increasing. Look at Jeffrey Eckler. He's so philosophical. He says, you may travel in first class, but you must not enjoy. That's Jeffrey Eckler Shastra. Wait,